the very first BI user group event for 2026. So thank you for all of those who are online and those who are attending in person as well. Just a bit of house rules for those of you who don't know. Myself and Sven are the co-organizers of the BI user group. I'm Kaylin Perry, and obviously Sven is here on my left-hand side. And we've been part of BI user group for quite some time now. But thank you so much for joining and attending. So before we kick off and before I hand us over to our awesome speakers for the day, I just want to give you a little bit of background to the series that we're actually running at the moment. So in November last year, we actually had part 1 of this series, which is the AI-based self-service analytics. We're seeing how across the world, this is becoming a fast-moving and fast-changing environment. And we were attending some conferences last year where this started popping up a lot more frequently. And there are various different service providers that are really moving in this space of AI-based self-service analytics. So we hosted the very first, I'm going to complete this, come on in. So we hosted the first event last year, November. We actually had speakers from Tableau and SAP Analytics Cloud present some of their information on their AI-based self-service analytics tools. That is recorded, that session, and it is on our YouTube channel. So for those of you who would like to go back and watch, if you didn't attend last year, please feel free to do so. But today we have 2 amazing speakers, one dialing in Lada Hill all the way from Chicago. So Lada is online, as well as Peter Swart. So we're going to be hearing some amazing things from Microsoft and Qlik perspective as to what's happening in this space. All right. So just a little bit of agenda for today. We're going to start off with Lada's presentation on what's happening in Microsoft. Then we'll move over to Peter as well. Then closing at the end. So that for those of you who are in person, we will be having some pizzas and cool drinks after this. So please feel free to stay behind. For those of you online, we'll post a nice online version of a pizza. But yeah, we hope for you to join next time in person if you can. All right, it is also really important for us to consistently improve this BI user group and what we're actually showcasing and the presenters and speakers that we have so that you get the most out of this as the community and those professionals working in the space. So we have a feedback survey. I will put this on at the end of the session. Please, any and all feedback is always welcome. On that feedback survey as well, we also are constantly looking for new presenters and new speakers. So if you're working in the space or you come across something super interesting that you're doing and you'd like to share that with the community, please feel free to sign up for that as well so that we have you and we'll call on you to potentially do a presentation over the course of the year. We also upload all of our session information to our GitHub repo. You can find that with that QR code there as well. And as I mentioned, we also have a YouTube channel for so you can go back and rewatch past kind of episodes. All right, so this is basically where we are at the moment. This is the first event of the year. We do have the speakers that will come up throughout the year, and we'll populate this accordingly. But for now, this is where we are. These dates might change tentatively depending on holidays and things like that. But for now, this is the rough guideline. All right, cool. So before I continue, I'd like to introduce our very first speaker. That's Lada Hill, all the way from Chicago. Lada is online. Lada is a group program manager at Microsoft, and she's been leading teams of project managers that focus on Copilot, the platform, and enterprise adoption across the Power BI and Microsoft Fabric spaces. Her work empowers organizations to scale impact through modern data and AI capabilities. So please give a warm welcome to Lada, and Lada, you're welcome to kick off.
Thank you so much for that intro, and I'm so excited. I'm going to share my screen here. Let me know if you can see it. Okay, I am really excited to join you, especially as your first kickoff of the year, so thank you for inviting me. She did a really great intro of myself. My name is Lada Hill. I am a group product manager with the Power BI team. I've been on this team for about 4 or 5 years now, but I've been in the Power BI space in sales as well as in consulting, probably since about 2016 or so. So I've been in the space for a long time. We've evolved so much. And today I'll talk to you about some of our newer AI capabilities and Copilot specifically. But as I go through the content, and I'll share the slides with the group here afterwards. Can I just see, like, raise a hands in the room or on Teams, just how many people have used Copilot at all, or even like dabbled in it? Oh, wow, that's awesome. I love seeing that because every time I go through user groups or like conferences, I think when we first introduced it, it was like just minimal hands. And so as we've grown, it's been made me so happy that like, okay, you have used this. So I might go into some things that you have already seen, but just as an intro, we have Fabric Copilots across the entire data platform with data science, data factory, data warehouse, as well as real-time intelligence. So if you have not explored those as well, I would definitely encourage you to, when your tenant enables Copilot for your organization, it doesn't just enable Power BI, it also enables these other workloads as well. So that's just something I like to call out for everyone to explore. So today, what can Copilot do? So we initially released this to public preview. It was about 2 years ago in fall of 2024. And so it's evolved dramatically since, but the core capabilities have always been primarily the same of we wanted targeted experiences to help you write DAX. We know DAX is very difficult. We know that it is kind of complex and sometimes even getting ideas of what you should write for a particular measure you're trying to get an outcome for, or even understanding what existing DAX means. So we have a DAX Copilot that has been getting really, really great feedback of just understanding what measures you have today, how do you improve them, how do you optimize them. So wanted to talk about the DAX Copilot editor, which I won't deep dive as much. I'm going to focus more on the consumption experiences, but I want everyone to be aware of the creation experience as well. So create reports, that was one of our first features we released in that initial public preview. This has evolved a ton. So initially, when we released this feature, you could only really type in very basic prompts of create a report about tourism analysis in Hawaii. And then it would just generate a report for you, and there wasn't a lot of iteration. So over time, we're now on our third update with it. We had a recent update a couple months ago, but now if you use this experience, it is much more of an iterative journey versus just kind of like a one-shot done. So now you ask to create the report. Let's say I use that same prompt, create a report about Hawaii tourism, seasonality or whatever. Copilot will, if it feels like it has enough context, it will just generate a report for you. But now it's more iterative and works with you to ask clarifying questions of these are the fields I found. These are the type of reports I can create. Which one would you like me to move forward with? And then after it generates a report with you, you can actually work with it side by side to say, actually, you know what? I don't want a column chart. I want a bar chart. Can you update this? Can you update this field instead of using months, use weeks? And so this helps you much more create it as a co-pilot versus, just having it do it for you and then there's not much iteration after. The other caveat to note with this, we have not yet expanded into formatting. You can rename titles, but it's more so kind of helping you with getting started. And so that in itself has saved a lot of time. Summarized data has been the most commonly used capability of Copilot, and that's really, generating insights on the holistic report that you're seeing. And so what I particularly use for, and even in my day-to-day, is let's say I have a report like my leadership report that tracks our usage on our different features. I look at that very often. And so I will ask, or like I'll have weekly leadership meetings. I will ask Copilot to give me the top 3 insights in a specific bullet point form, like top 3 insights in a bullet list that is geared towards executive review. So depending on the type of prompts you have versus just give me a summary of the report, you can tailor it to where you're able to get the output that you're looking for to a point where you can just copy and paste. And then drawing insights is what I will primarily focus on for the rest of this time. That is more so getting actually the analytical insights and deep diving into what your data means. And so this really, really helps, especially with people I've kind of worked throughout my career in consulting and even in product, is a lot of times people do still have visual literacy and comprehension issues, either with the way the report was created or they're completely new to visuals. And so having this chat-based experience and being able just to get direct answers has really saved a lot of time. So just getting out the admin stuff out of the way. A lot of folks on the call seems like they've used it before, but like I mentioned, there is an admin setting that is in the admin portal that you need to enable to be able to use Power BI Copilot. So this top setting here, that will turn on, like I mentioned before, all of the Fabric Copilots. And so once you turn this on, you get it for Power BI, you get it for Data Warehouse, et cetera, et cetera. For a lot of enterprises that are still in the testing phase, you're able to also just enable it for security groups. So after that testing phase, then they'll enable it for the entire organization. One of the experiences that was a bit newer as of last summer is the standalone experience. Has anyone heard of that yet? It's basically the full screen chat experience. Oh, great. Okay. So when we first introduced this, a lot of our report pane experiences were geared towards reports. Our standalone, which I'll deep dive into, is the new experience in preview that essentially very much looks and feels like M365 Copilot. So instead of asking questions on a single report or an artifact, you're able to ask that question and Copilot will then scan all the artifacts you have access to, apps, reports, and semantic models, and will try to best identify which is the best artifact to answer from, and then give you a response that way so you're able to cross-function and not just ask questions and use your Copilot by report. So the other thing, if this was not already on your radar, when we first introduced this, there was a higher barrier of entry for Copilot. We required either a P1 or an F64. We did, obviously while people are still testing, different enterprises group have different budgets. We worked really hard to bring that to a lower scale. So if you did not know this yet, this is something I definitely encourage you to try. But you are now able to use Copilot on F2s and above, so the lowest tier, as well as we released this last year, but it's called Fabric Copilot Capacity. So one of the major feedbacks we heard is that when you're managing workloads between Copilot and let's say refreshes on your different Fabric workloads, managing that GPU is difficult. And so by assigning a Fabric Copilot capacity, it's still the same capacity. Let's say you have 3 P1s in your organization. You can assign 1 P1 as your dedicated Fabric Copilot capacity so that all of your Copilot usage will just directly go to that capacity. So you can effectively monitor it as well as it's not affecting your other workloads. Another thing to note, Copilot's not yet available on trials as well as not yet available on GCC. And then region-wise, we're still working to expand our regions. Transparently, the reason why we haven't expanded beyond Europe and US is because of GPU availability across Microsoft. So it's not just a Fabric thing, it's a Microsoft GPU allocation. And so as we know more, we will make sure to communicate with the community. However, there is a setting that if you allow your data to be processed outside your region, you are still able to use it. So I can take any questions in the chat after on these kind of nuances, but this is just more the admin aspects. So now I'll go into the meat of it with the consumer chat with your data experiences. So one of the things I like to call out is that in 2024, I actually led this study with research. So we partnered with a independent research team and we conducted a randomized controlled trial with 209 users. So pretty big group that an independent group actually recruited these users. I did not even directly interact with them. But with this, we gave them common tasks in a day-to-day workflow for a business user. For Copilot, we gave them the task to complete without Copilot and the task to complete with Copilot. And we found that 52% of users completed those tasks faster. So just basic analytic tasks of analysis or getting insights into like multiple pages of reports. If you compare the task without Copilot and the task with Copilot, 36% of the users completed those more accurately, And then in a survey, 90% of users were likely to continue to adopt and use it and also recommend to others. So we're looking to expand this research with our updated capabilities, but this was a really promising study as we initially released this. Okay, so this is the standalone experience, and I'll show a demo in a bit of our latest Chat with Your Data experience. Like I mentioned, when we first released it, we focused initially on chatting with the report itself. With this updated experience, on the left-hand nav, you see this Copilot button here. So this allows you to just be conversational and just ask your question directly. So for example, throughout the day, I probably have 5 or 6 reports that I'll look at, with different leadership calls, different meetings, and I'll have to go to the report directly. Here, I can just ask my question, and then it will find that asset for me. And so this, like I mentioned, is built on existing reports. It will scan through your semantic models. It will scan through apps, as well as if you're familiar with data agents, it will also reference any data agents relevant to the context of your question. You are able to switch without context as well. So let's say I'm first asking about a report that I usually use in the morning for my morning meetings. I can then switch. Let's say I get an insight about usage that I'm like, oh, I want to learn more about a feature. Let me ask directly that question about a feature, and that will bring up the other report for me. So you don't have to explicitly say, I want to look at a different report. It is smart enough for it to context switch. Another piece, I don't know how many are familiar with this, and I might not have time to get to it, but last year we also introduced a set of tooling or prep for your AI kind of suite to where you as an author can help fine-tune the Copilot experience. And so your end users, your business users can get more accurate results. Because what we found, and as I'm working with different customers, your Copilot answers are as only good as your model. So following best practices for having clean model practices, star schema, very specific naming, so you don't have that kind of duplicate names where context can get kind of confusing. You can also specify instructions. For example, even if your model is clean, you may want to be able to instruct Copilot to say, hey, in my business, this specific term actually means this. And so you're able to add that directly into the Prep for AI, and I'll send a link on that, and as well as in the deck, where you're able to optimize your Copilot experience for your end users. Okay, so the type of questions, I like to be transparent about this, that you are able to ask is a spectrum of obviously very simple data retrieval. Let's say you have a very complex report, it's like 15 pages. If you just have analysts or end users just want to come in and say, hey, what is the usage from January 2024, instead of me clicking through all the different pages, I can just ask that question directly. That's kind of a one-shot, very direct, and that's something that we focused on getting the quality really good on. The source is highly curated and trusted, and it's a very quick, natural language request to get that quick results. As we've evolved Copilot and as customers evolved using Copilot and AI in general, we're seeing that users are wanting to ask more deep research questions. That is something we're evolving to be able to give you more insights, to be able to give you some more reasoning, more predictive analytics. We're not there yet. However, that is something that we're actively looking to bring in so that not only are you saving time in your data analytics day-to-day, but you're also getting insights that can help you in your task. So these are some examples of supported queries. So very direct, what were the top 5 selling products in North America last month? So product, region, and date are already in the data. Copilot can help produce that visual, which you can then copy and share. You can ask, what is the average price of gasoline per gallon over the last 30 days? So a little bit more complex, where it will have to take an average or use relative dates to produce the visual. So as long as the column and fields are in the report or the data model, it can answer that question directly. This gives you direct questions, gives you summaries. One of the things I think I didn't mention is that one of the kind of more successful selling points of this aspect is that when we first released this, Copilot could only answer questions if the data was available on the report itself. And so that was a bit limiting. So we then expanded to where as long as the data exists in the data model, in the semantic model, even if that answer isn't on the report in a form of a visual or table, business users are still able to ask that question and you're able to still get that answer. So that's also why having a clean semantic model behind your Copilot experience is really important. So some of the queries that are not yet supported, but we're looking into is more of those why questions, the predictive, how many books do you think we'll send next year? We don't yet support forecasting. And why do our sales go down every July? So that does involve some reasoning, involve some deeper insights, potentially from, just different kind of input outside of just the data itself. That is where we're looking into bringing more reasoning into the Copilot models. But as of today, this is not yet supported. Okay, so the standalone experience is the full chat. And then I'm going to play a demo here. Can you guys hear the audio?
Lets you start broad and ask without specifying what data to use.
Yes, we can hear you.
Start looking for the right data to provide you with an answer. Copilot searches for items based on their content, how recently you used them, and more. Since the topic of my question was clear, Copilot was able to find the right artifact and tell me that the social media campaign was the most successful. Alternatively, if your question is less specific, like this one about travel insights, Copilot will work with you to narrow down the topic before generating an answer. In the background, it found some reports about tourism, airports, and hotel bookings, so it's asking a clarifying question to zero in on the right one. Once it's gotten the info it needs from me, it confidently selects the tourism report that contained a verified answer matching my question. If we make another request related to tourism in Hawaii, Copilot will intuitively know to use the same report. But if you know a specific report you'd like to ask about, you can easily attach it. Our updated menu has all item types in one list organized by recency to speed things up. I want to use our data about climbs on Mount Rainier, so I'll just select it here and ask my question. Standalone Copilot is built to meet you where you are. Whether you know the data you want to use or just the question you want answered, insights are always within reach.
Okay, so with this, just a note, even if you have Copilot turned on in the tenant setting, this experience may not show up in your like when you log in, because there's a second tenant setting that you have to actually enable this. So in September, this actually was default on. And so unless your tenant admin specifically opted out of that, this should have been enabled. And then it looks like just from raising hands, is it Sven? Were you the only one that has actually used this yet?
Yes.
Okay, so great. Yeah, would love to hear kind of what your thoughts about it. If you have used the report pane experience and then going into this more kind of M365 model, being able to look at your assets, what are your initial thoughts on here? Just would love feedback on it, just from seeing the demo.
Well, I think obviously it makes the use case so much broader because people very often don't know what they're searching for. So to be able to do it in the standalone experience, it helps them look for things without specifying something in particular, whether it's a particular report. Obviously, that capability is available as well. But most people don't know what they're looking for. So that's why the standalone experience is much better.
Oh, that's great feedback. And that's what we're seeing too, of a lot of times you either know exactly what report you're looking for or app you're looking for with a link you click on every day. But here I'm able just to ask these questions are not super specific either. And so being able to just to ask, like for example, I am not part of the data warehouse team, but if I'm interested in their usage to just learn from their insights, I can just go in and ask, what is the current usage of Fabric data warehouse Copilot? And that can just automatically provide assets that, assuming I have access to, I can start exploring. And this gives you more towards exploratory analysis. Like I mentioned, it does the context switching for you. And one of the things too, if you did use this when we first released it, we actually gave you directly the list of artifacts related to your question. but we have improved it to where it's much quote, smarter, to where it is going to match it based on what Copilot thinks is the best fit for your answer. And you can obviously switch it and say, this is not the right report. It will always give you a reference to where it sourced that answer from. And if Copilot feels like it does not have enough context, it will ask you those clarifying questions so you can get to the right aspect. Like this is what I just meant. So if you ask a very generic question, it'll ask you for more follow-up so that it will help you get to what you are actually looking for. So how does Copilot actually help identify which artifact best suits what you're looking for? So this is something that is really important for, I think, authors to know, since you own the semantic models, you own the reports. Endorsements, so it uses in its algorithm the endorsements, which promoted, certified, which we always recommend for just standard best practices for governance. And so as an end user, you know, hey, this is a report that is certified or promoted for me to look. We also have a setting called Approve for Copilot, meaning that someone that owns a semantic model did the prep on it, did the testing on some of those questions, and then as a business user, you can feel more confident about getting that result. It also does it informs by popularity, so like recent personal usage, how many people are actually using that report. If you mark it as your personal favorite, that also helps, as well as, like I mentioned, that kind of popularity of how much this report is using as an enterprise. So how does it actually answer a question? So the experience is that you ask your question, and depending on if you directly attach an item, like in the demo, you can actually use that drop down and say, hey, this is the report I'm looking for, and just ask questions that way. Or it will just use the search experience so that it will try to identify the best artifact that matches it. The Copilot action is you get a summary or you get a data answer. If you have not yet used this, the summary experience, I think, is way more advanced than it is in the report pane experience. As you can see, you get it's a much longer response. It gives you much more comprehensive summaries in that standalone experience, or you can get the direct answer in a visual form. The order of execution is that so verified answer is a prep for AI capability. So as an author, if I know these are the questions that people typically ask Copilot about my report, I can actually set that as a verified answer in the model. And so if I know a lot of people ask how many visitors were there in Oahu, I can mark that as a verified answer, and that will be prioritized as that first response. And so that helps with kind of giving more confidence in the answer that Copilot is generating for you as the author, as well as your business user. Then it will check the report visuals first, and then it'll look in the semantic model. And then if not, it will create ad hoc DAX to create that visual. So that's just kind of behind the scenes of how Copilot's actually working and the order of execution of how it gets its answers. So I know I'm running a bit out of time. I think I have maybe five minutes or so. Is that right? 10? Okay. So I'll just run through the experiences that you can do this in. So Copilot for apps, we initially had the report pane in apps, but with Copilot in apps, we released this last fall. So basically, you get the standalone experience, that same functionality I just walked through, but it's scoped to the app, which I think is really great because apps are so highly curated. You have, these 5 reports here, several pages. And so as your business user is already used to, looking at specific apps for your day-to-day that are developed by maybe your dedicated data team or, your center of excellence team, you can use Copilot so that it's scoped to only any answers and those artifacts within that app. So this has been really popular, and we've gotten great feedback on here because of that specific scoping. We have the Copilots in reports, like I mentioned, best use for if you want to deep dive on a specific report. And the great thing too is that when you're using standalone, regardless if you're in apps or you're in just the home, like left nav where you navigate from that, it will always give you references to where it found that answer. And so let's say I was asking a question like in the demo, you were asking questions about hiking in Mount Rainier. I can then click on that reference and then go to this report and then ask questions about this detailed report. We have Copilot in Power BI app in Teams. So if you are a day-to-day user and your normal workflow just stays in Teams, this is also available to where you are able to use that experience in the Power BI app. And then we have also introduced this in mobile apps. So initially, when we released this, it was more so you just get quick summary analysis. However, it has been recently introduced at Ignite last fall that you are able to ask more of those data analytics questions. And so being able to get answers directly from the semantic model or direct data answers from the report, that is now supported in mobile. And then, let's see. One of the things that is really interesting right now, there is a lot of discussions with MCP servers and working with your own clients. And so we have released an MCP server for Chat with Your Data so that if you want to use a different client outside of Power BI, you're able to connect to this directly and then be able to connect to that semantic model and get the same Chat with Your Data experiences through a different UI or client. So that is really great for our pro devs as well as for folks that are wanting to scale or develop in a different architecture here. Okay, and so I'll wrap up here, but I just wanted to end with some best practices. So trying to be descriptive in your request helps Copilot find the best answer to your question. So like I mentioned, if you are more vague, Copilot will ask you more clarifying questions so it can help narrow down the answer. But the more descriptive you can be, even for example, like creating reports, when I ask Copilot to create a report, I am more specific about what I'm looking for. Create a report about Hawaii tourism using XYZ fields. And so I will give very specific fields that I want it to use. And you can even say, I would like to see this in a bar chart. I would like to see this in a column chart. And so the more descriptive you can be in your initial prompt, the more it can get you to the right answer quicker. Also, steer Copilot if it did not give you the answer that you were looking for, or you just wanted to see a different answer, just ask follow-up questions or just say directly, I didn't want that. I actually want to do this field. Can you replace this? Like I just mentioned, ask follow-up questions. Note that it is still an LLM. I think it is something to, I think for everyone into the AI space, understanding that an LLM is not perfectly, what's the word I'm looking for? But you're not going to get the same exact response every time. So because of that, deterministic, because of that, it is important to use those prep for AI tools and so that you can help improve the optimization and the quality of your answer. So for example, in summary, it's going to give generally the same answer of your insights based on the data, but you might not get the same exact paragraph. And so just recognizing that it is still AI, it is still LLM, it is not perfectly deterministic. And so using things like verified answers to make sure this is the response they're getting to something that you know people are going to ask, using custom instructions to help guide the Copilot as it is analyzing your data is all ways you can optimize for your answers. If something is offensive, Microsoft is we do a lot of testing for, we call it responsible AI. And so we do a lot of internal testing to make sure that people cannot abuse Copilot. And so if someone is asking something offensive or trying to make Copilot respond in a harmful way, you will receive an error. And so sometimes this can happen if you have data maybe focused on crime. And so we have updated some logic to where if the data exists in your model, it will return it. But if you're asking something completely off topic and offensive, it is going to return as an error. So we're very protective of that. And then something to note, you'll see thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down in the answers of your responses. Please use that in the experience that you're using because us as PMs, even our CVPs, we monitor that data. It's completely anonymous, it's aggregated, so we don't see it. All we see if it was a thumbs up, thumbs down, and then if you decide to add any comments of like what you liked about the experience. The more descriptive you are, the better it helps us. Obviously, don't add anything about your sensitive data But for us, all we're looking for is what did you not like about the response? What did you like about the response? Because we really do monitor this feedback on it, like actually daily. And we inform that into what features we are looking for next. This is the recommended prompt structure. I'll just leave this into the deck so that you can look at it later. But like I mentioned, the more specific you are with your prompt, the better your response will be. And so this is kind of just the recommended structure that we like to give so that it helps Copilot kind of render that in this kind of execution order. And then just some known limitations. There's delays on capacity. If you are scaling up, Copilot may take 24 hours to become active. Limited language support. We are looking into for further down the roadmap supporting other languages. If you do ask Copilot a question, let's say in French, Copilot as an LLM may respond to you. But when we say we only support English, all of our testing is done in the English language today. And so the answers you may get from Copilot in a different language may not be supported as English is. So that is one strong limitation we are aware of, and we are looking where we can do there. Throttling capacity, just make sure you're monitoring your capacities. There are some filter limitations. Today, embedding is not supported yet for app owns data. We do have embedding for secure embed reports, which is pretty easy to do. If you already have secure embedded reports, this is not automatically enabled. So you will have to go in and re-embed that link with just an easy checkbox. But we are looking into how we can support a lot of pass embed scenarios, as we know ISVs. And in general, Copilot is not generally available. The platform is, however, as we are continuously releasing features and capabilities in Copilot, those are in preview until we get more feedback, until we make it GA and then go through all our fundamentals. So now I'm at time. I'm happy to answer any questions in the chat, but I will leave this deck for everyone, and I hope that this is something of interest to the folks and that you're excited to try it out. But thank you so much, everyone, for your time.
Lada, thank you so much. That was incredibly insightful. I must say, personally, I cannot believe how quickly this technology is moving and progressing. Even just in the last 6 months, it's amazing to see what you and Microsoft have achieved. I'm very passionate about the whole ethics in AI and using it responsibly, so it's really lovely to see that there's been quite a big focus on that as well to make sure there's no harmful responses. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. I think we will have maybe 1 or 2 minutes for some questions, so maybe 1 or 2 questions. Is there anyone in the room that has a question for Lada? Anyone online, please just pop your hand up in the chat if you do. Yes, we've got a question here in the room.
Yeah, hi Lada. I'm just curious to understand the thinking around the changing role of BI developers, BI consultants. This technology is definitely going to democratize insights, but it's going to change the role of a lot of people in the room. How do Microsoft see that play out, and what will the future role of BI developers be in this new world?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question and something we talk about often of, we've had such a strong Power BI community, very with deep knowledge. And the thing I will always say, because I do come from consulting and I do come from the sales aspect, I've worked with so many different personas, whether it's the admin, pro devs, business users. And the thing about Copilot, I always like to say, is that Copilot and AI is here to just help you be more efficient. You will always need what we term it human in the loop. And so DAX is difficult. It has a strong learning curve. But whether you are proficient in DAX or you're completely new to it, it is to help you get your job faster so that you can spend your time focusing on things that are more important to you. So giving Copilot the task to be done. So for example, one really awesome example I heard is, using Copilot to generate UAT reports. That takes so much time just getting the report together, but Copilot just putting reports together so that saves you a certain amount of time that you can focus more on maybe data, the data quality. And so helping or using Copilot to help you get started is one, what we've seen is the best success for customers. But secondly, even as our Copilot capabilities are advancing, I never see it as, you no longer have a role in this because as a human, we always need to be in the loop with the results Copilot is generating so that people can feel confident about the answers and actually taking data-driven decisions with that output. So to me, I think it's saved a ton of time. So as a product manager, I'm going to use M365 and like Word Copilot. As a product manager, it is my job to write a lot of documents. And for me, it is helping me get started, helping me generate ideas more. But I don't feel that my role in writing these documents, writing these specs, writing these updates, I feel like I get to spend more time on being more creative than doing the tedious work of actually writing it. So I apply that same way to whatever your workflow is in the BI process. It's finding those pieces that is going to save you the time the most. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing the thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. We've got another question here in the chat, Lada, if you're happy to answer another one.
Yeah, so the Copilot is focused on both. So what I just talked about now is consumer experiences. So that is something that it is like business users would go in and ask questions. And kind of where I talked a lot more about the developer experience was to help optimize your answers for Copilot, because a lot of where our focus in the last year has been about quality. And so Copilot is definitely focused on both. So you have the DAX, the Qlik Copilots for developers, and then for the consumers, you have those summaries as well as asking direct questions and that standalone experience. And the roadmap wise, we are working on a roadmap to integrate this into M365 directly. So as you are working with M365 and you are asking about your documents and your PowerPoints or email, we are working on a way to seamlessly integrate that data aspect as well. Licensing implications is at the top of the deck, but basically it's the same for both dev and consumer. You need an F2 or a P1 to enable it. And then most importantly, you need the admin to enable those experiences as well. So we are looking into trials. Even if you have a Fabric trial, it's not yet supported, but we do know people want to try it yet without the licensing. So we have taken that feedback and we're looking at ways to be able to support that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think that's the time that we have, Lada. Thank you so much for joining and for sharing your insights. Please feel free to stay on if you would like to hear Peter as well in his presentation. But otherwise, thank you so much for your time. And another round of applause, I think, is due.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Then without further ado, I'm just going to reshare my screen. So our second speaker today, Peter Swart, he's actually here in person. So for those who are in the office, he's sitting over there. For those online, you can see him in the blue shirt waving. Peter, thank you so much for being here. So Peter has a realm of experience, a wealth of experience in the BI and analytics space, specifically within Qlik and Qlik View and Qlik specifically. We cannot wait to hear what you have to share with us today about the AI-based self-service.
Great. Okay, thank you for inviting me. I'm Peter, I'm from Qlik. I have been using for 20 odd years, so I know it quite well. And more recently, as Qlik has brought in its AI components, I've been playing with them. And what I'm going to talk to you today about today is something which we started talking about a few years ago, and we were really, really surprised to see Qlik actually put it on their trends in their slide earlier this year. AI plus BI equals CI. And what they're saying is AI is really, really cool. BI is really, really mature and has got good answers to it because guys like you have put an awful lot of effort into making those models. The data models in Qlik, we call them apps. There's many data marts that you can go and explore. They're right because you guys made them right. And if you put those two together, then you end up getting contextual intelligence out. So you'll get answers within context. So that's what we're going to look at today. AI plus BI equals CI. This is a slide that that Dan Sommer from Qlik brought out. Every year he starts the Qlik year with a "these are the trends that we are seeing" presentation, and that popped out for me immediately, the AI plus BI, because we've been talking about it for a while. The other thing that popped out was the semantics everywhere and the protocols over platform. So I'm just going to touch on those three. There's an awful lot on the slide. I'm just going to touch on those three. The semantics everywhere, Lada brought it up as well when she said at the end there, the more you, if you want to get something really good out of your AI, you must frame the question correctly. And that semantics everywhere says to me, you've got to get your words right. It's whether it's in the document that you're analyzing, or in the question that you're asking, or in the names of the measures and dimensions and things you put in your models, words are important. So just bear that in mind. As a programmer, you often sit there, or as a developer, you sit there and make up names on the fly, and we'll worry about the labels later. But words are actually quite important. Right. As far as the protocols go, we've been talking about is, or what we saw earlier was, we've got this thing called AI sitting on the one side, and we've got our model on the other side, and these things that need to talk to each other. But what we're seeing is that it's got to talk to more than just an LLM sitting on top of a BI model or helping a developer write SQL. You'll end up with AIs talking to each other. So you're going to be seeing this whole alphabet soup of things coming out. MCP allows one thing to control another thing. Agent-to-agent protocol allows agents to get things done between each other. A new one that's just come up is Universal Commerce Protocol, and that is, Google brought it out to allow retailers to describe their products so that an agent understands what that description is. Just words, but you've got to get those words right. So words matter. That's my message from there. So what I thought I'd do, instead of going through all the features of Qlik, I thought that I would just take a use case. I'm going to do this live, so I hope the demo gods are with us. But a customer came to us earlier this year. So what you're seeing, I've developed in the last 2 weeks. It's really, really new. So let's hope that things go well. The customer came to us, and they're a pharmaceutical company. They sell drugs. And they said, well, we want to help the rep when he goes to visit a potential customer. The first thing that they want to do is they want to review the customer history. They want to know what the customer's behavior was and what it might be. They wanted to fiction in there. They want to, of the things we're going to sell them, are there any problems with them? Must we warn the doctor about this? By the way, I need these things on internal promotions, and all of this information is spread over various things. So the first question, review customer history. That's in a traditional dashboard. We've got dashboards that are linking to ERP systems and CRM systems. We know what this person has bought before. Fiction, that's also easy. Machine learning, that's been around forever. But it's traditional, so we'll do that. The review product warnings, that's not in any BI system. That's sitting outside a BI system, sitting in advisories that are downloaded from the regulatory authority's website. Might be downloaded, they might be sitting over. So we've got this document. We need to put these two things together. We're going to sell them. And promotions, the marketing department doesn't use the system very well. They just get somebody to type a Word document and publish it and say, these are the things that are on special this month. So if I want to know what's on special, I need to go and read a document and sitting outside. And then the final thing, and this was the thing that's interesting to me, said, if you can build us a system like this, can you do a role-playing exercise? an AI agent becomes the customer. You learn using real data, go through the exercise before you get there. That's a bit more of a challenge. Okay, so that's the use case that we're doing. And this is the architecture that we came up with. We have an ERP system. Let's see if I can going over here. Here we go. So we've got the ERP system and all the other odds and ends in a normal database, and that goes into a traditional dashboard. We call it an app, Qlik, and it's you go and you do your clicks and you analyze what this customer's bought. I am this rep. I am going to see this customer. What have they bought? That's where it comes up. All of those things that were not in the BI system, the things that are sitting here in documents, we need to read them in. Qlik's got an answer for that, called Answers. The product is called Qlik Answers. It's a RAG system where you can go and throw all your documentation as documents. It moves it into a vector database, and then you can type queries on it. But that I don't have yet, because promised it to me on the 10th of February, is the MCP server in the middle, where I can get external stuff to do stuff. So if you'd asked me in a month or so's time, the demo might have had a bit more, but it might have been able to do that. I'll come back for that around. What I can do is this. I can do this right now. I can get Qlik Analytics, the dashboard, talk to Qlik Answers, which is the LLM. And what I do with that is I'm going to get the dashboard generate prompts so that the words are right. Give to the LLM. The LLM is going to give me an answer. That's what I'm going to try and show you today. Right, let's see if I can connect to my demo. It's all online, and it is this one. Yes, there we go. Yeah. Right, I'm connected to my Qlik tenant in the cloud. It's my instance where I do all my work, and it's got everything there. Each of these panes over here is something that we call an application, and it's like a data mart, an explorable data mart of similar data. I'm a caver. All my caving data into Qlik. I've got an application that looks at all the insects that I find in caves. I know it's weird, but just accept it. So that's one of my applications. Another one over here, it's my CLM app, the contract lifecycle manager, and it's a data mart of and who's bought what and when they owe us stuff. And this is the one that I'm going to show you now. It is the dashboard that looks at sales. Just before I go there, what I want to do is I want to go and have a look at button down here, Qlik Answers. I said that Qlik Answers was a RAG-based LLM. You give it your documents, and it can questions on your documents. And we've gone in over here. Each one of these things over here is a knowledge base. A knowledge base is a group of files that you've asked it to go and index. It went and took a whole lot of documents, whether it's a PDF, Word document, text document. It does really well with Markdown documents if you're a Markdown fan. If you've got to generate data that you want your LLM to understand and you want a table in it, I'll give it MD, HTML it understands. So you can give it all of these unstructured verbose documents and put it into a knowledge base. What I've done is I've created a couple of different knowledge bases. I've created one knowledge base for my products, created one for my marketing department initiatives, one for my procedures, how I want you to respond when you go and visit a doctor. And a fourth one is what regulations must you adhere to as a drug manufacturer, that you can go and say, well, we're doing all these things. That is a knowledge base. I'll ask it a question yet. It's it's like a database for unstructured data. That's how you want to ask it anything reasonably intelligent, like from a human point of view. Now, I don't want to create an assistant. I want to view the assistants that I've created already. It says, yes, I've got 2 assistants. One is a product assistant and one is a visit assistant. And what an assistant is it's the interface that you know so well from ChatGPT and from Gemini that you can go and ask things, ask this LLM a question. So here I've got my product database. This has been really, really sluggish. I can say I'm selling the drug Lipitor, and I can go and ask it the advantages of hopefully it's going to go away and it's going to come back, it's going to read through all those things, and it starts telling me about my product. So this is like ChatGPT on your documents. It's RAG. You can do cool things with it. You can say, this was a good answer, this was a bad answer. And what these thumbs up and thumbs down do, they tell your version, your RAG, this was a good answer. So next time it's going to say, well, I can give this answer again, or no, I mustn't give this answer. You can, if you don't believe it, say, I want to source. I want to view source, and then it goes and opens the document and tells you, shows you the piece of text where it got that information from. So if you think that this thing is now lying to me, it can go and show you where it got the information. And of course, you can go and paste it. You can see it. And if you really, really want to, the doctor says, I want to see that for myself, go and click on this download button, and it will download that document from the knowledge base to laptop that you can send it to the doctor. So that's pretty cool. You can also do preset questions. Go and review the questions up here in the top. You can start questions. You can do all sorts of stuff like that. So this is quick answers, and it's that very bottom part on my diagram that I drew. It's just looking at unstructured data. Back to the front end. Now I'm going to open additional BI application that we know, and we're in a stock standard dashboard. You've seen this hundreds of times before. You've been developing these things for a long time. And we have this Insight Advisor. Now, what Insight Advisor is the chatbot on your structured data. So it's the thing that will go and you do a natural language query. I'm thinking it's bad, so I've just prepared one where you can do things like show the values by cardiologist. And when I say cardiologist, when I type in cardiologist, it says, I found cardiologist in practice speciality. Is this the one that you want? And it brings up a graph of cardiologist for the years. I've got 2 years selected. I want to see a little bit more, 2 years. So I'm going to take that selection off. The answer changes. This is my sales by year. It was giving me natural language answers over there, and it gives me other graphs as well for the while it's answering this question. Let's there we go. And now it gives it to me for all these. So we've made quite a lot of money out of cardiologists. This is all made up data. So I show this to you. This question that I asked here, I asked one app. It does allow you, if you wanted to, ask that question across apps. So if I ask Insight Advisor when I'm in the hub and I've got multiple apps below me, it will go and search for that question across all the apps that I have allowed it to search in. So you can do that conversational kind of analytics at here is my BI level, or you can say, well, I want to go down to my pharmaceuticals. So that's called Insight Advisor. It's been around for back to my traditional BI. I'm in a dashboard. One of the things that we wanted to see was we wanted to see, bigger for you. Yeah. One of the things that we wanted to see was we wanted to see a prediction. Now, what I did, as you can see, I've manufactured a whole lot of data over here and wanted it to work. So I have made a fairly nice pattern. And for these months, let's take it out. There you go. That's going to look. The blue bars are the actual data. I generated that data. Gray bars, I did not generate. Updating on my screen before it's up there, sorry. The gray bars I did not generate. Gray bars I gave to the machine learning component and I said, please run predictions into the future. It's multivariate, so you can do things like I want to do the predictions by customer, by product. So if you want to see something like one of the drugs over here, I want to go and have a look at something that's seasonal. There we go. Lexigras is an antihistamine, so that's got a really good seasonality. In spring, everybody uses it. So you can see going backwards in time, we've got these spring peaks where it was used, and it went, okay, you're going to be able to sell this drug into the future, and then it's going to tail off. So we can do traditional BI. We can know what the person bought, predict what they're going to buy. And now comes the next thing. Next thing is, I'm going to go and visit them. What can I do? For that, staying in my model, I'm going to say, I want to select some stuff first. I am going to go back to my dashboard. I'm going to say I am Maura. I'm going to visit Dr. Brittany. This is what Dr. Brittany bought from me in this past year, in 2025. This is what she bought from me previous year. What do I say to her when I go and visit her? For that, what I've done is I have brought that agent, the Qlik answers agent that I showed you, brought that, come on, put the Qlik answers agent into Qlik Sense. That was a demo. So I brought that answers agent onto a sheet within my model, and I can type questions, the same questions that I was typing in the agent on the outside. I can come and type in on the right-hand side here. You see I've got this farmer assist agent. Remember I said a knowledge base agent for you to ask good questions. But one more thing. The knowledge base requires an assistant to ask you questions. You can sit in that assistant and you can type the questions that the user can come and sit and ask the questions from within their BI dashboard. So they can do all of their prep in one place. The other thing, this one worked, thank you. I think it was just a timing issue. The other thing that I've done is I know that Maura going to see a cardiologist. It's bringing what Maura is going to see out of what I have selected. It's making the query. So I didn't make this query. BI tool made the query, sent this query off to Qlik Answers, which got the answer, put it back and displayed it for you. That's what the message that I'm trying to get across here is you can use BI to formulate the question, ask the LLM the answer that you want. That is why it's so important. Here, what we're doing is we are using data to get those words right so that the LLM will give you the right. Okay. I've got a couple of other versions of this, but that's the message that I'm trying to get across. And in the not too distant future, 10th of Feb, we're going to be able to hopefully get an external agent to be able to then be the consultant, be the customer, so that the rep can go and do some role playing. I see that you bought this. What do you think about it? And then the customer will ask you, well, what are the restrictions on your drug? Why must I buy your drug? And then it will give you the answers and give you an idea of what the customer is going. Okay, so that was the demo. I think we covered everything. We did build a traditional dashboard. We did that. Did the predictions. We did the machine learning. I showed you a little bit of Insight Advisor sitting on top of the BI dashboards. I showed you the RAG AI standalone, and I showed you the RAG AI where the BI model was connected to LLM. Insight Advisor had for quite a while, and it's got much better. It also has the ability for you to add language, so you can do things like, when I say customer, I mean could be a practice, or it could be whatever. If you've got specific terminology, a doctor or a hospital, you could use all of those words, and it would know, okay, I've got to go and look up. So you can do that kind of thing. It is time aware, so you can do things like show me the sales for last year. It knows what year you're in. It knows to go and select last year, and it'll show you the sales for last year. And those graphs that it brings up, then answering your question. That's all I wanted to show you, how those two things can talk together. Any questions from anyone? Find any questions, put them in the chat.
I actually have one for you, Peter.
Yes.
First and foremost, thank you. That was epic. It's so nice to actually see it in practice and see it physically working in that way.
Break the wrong terms. Yes.
But I have a bit of a question on the AI ML side of it, with the large language model as well as the predictive algorithm. Is that trained on the entire data suite for your business, or how are those models being trained and retrained?
Two completely separate things. So the LLM is trained only on the unstructured data.
Okay.
It does not know yet, until the MCP comes in, it does not know about your structured data. And all it will do is it will answer questions. It builds up a vector database from your documents, builds that knowledge base, and then you query that. So it knows about language. It's got Claude under the hood. And it's available in all the tenants that have got Claude. Not all of them have got it yet, but most of them have. And it will only answer questions from your database using its knowledge of language. The ML stuff is you've got to do your traditional, I need to prep some data that a machine learning algorithm will understand. I give it to used to be called AutoML because it does it by itself. Now called Qlik Predict. Marketing guys changed the name, but it is just AutoML. So you give it the data, then builds I think it's got a maximum 9 models at the moment. Holds back some of the data, builds a model test, builds a model test, builds a model test, and comes back and says, this model is the best one for your data. You do have to prepare the data. So what I did there was, once I got all the sales in, I then saved the data, build the AutoML on that, and it sits there as a model. And then whenever I do the reload, I say, well, these are my current sales. Please go and predict the next one. I do have another demo where you can do that on the fly. So you can make a change in your model, and it goes and does that on the fly. I've done that demo so many times, I thought people in this audience might have already seen it. But if you want to see it, I can show you.
Well, a follow-up question to that then. So the model drift, is that than what's managed by Qlik itself to check how the model's performing and retrain it or retest it and check it from
The model drift on the machine learning.
Yeah.
What it does is it says, I think you are drifting and need to be retrained. So it doesn't automatically retrain it. You're going to have to say, well, now I want to train it on this data set. But it does warn you when it thinks it's drifted too far.
Amazing. Thank you. Those are the questions from me. Anyone else in the room or online who have any questions?
You mentioned that it can accept Markdown and HTML for the knowledge base, right?
Yes.
You know if it accepts PDF and,
Yes.
and it's like scanned in PDFs, like so that it's OCR?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's text only. They're updating it all the time. I tried it last week with scanned PDF and it didn't work. And this particular customer wanted that. So what we have is we have another part of our business is doing the OCR, so that we will be able to give text to this. But yeah, text only. Question back there. Yes.
Hi, my name is Arnaldo. First time in the canal, so quite late. Traffic, sorry about that. So I missed most of the. But just as you've been speaking, speak to us about some of your considerations when you pose your maybe strategy.
Didn't.
Or you just use the tool.
I didn't.
Okay.
I used the tool. So that's the beauty of quick answers, lies there are limitations. So beauty is trivial to set up. I generated all the documents that it's reading, indexed them, built the 4 knowledge bases, and built the assistants in an afternoon. Because all I had to do was give it documents. But what it does not allow me to do is it doesn't allow me to go, oh, I need to change my chunking strategy on that particular. So from a nitty-gritty nuts and bolts detail, it does that. I don't care about it as a business, as an end user. Go and get that right. You LLM experts, you go and do that. I'm just an end user, EI guy.
So it doesn't offer any unconfigured.
If you really, really want to go and do all that stuff, what you need to do is you need to go to this part over here. You can do exactly what I did. Very remote, guys, I'm standing up. You can, instead of doing this arrow that comes down into the answers from Qlik Analytics, go to your own one. Build your own one. So I've done that with Gemini, and I've done it with ChatGPT. So the BI tool itself, Qlik Sense, allows you to do these calls. It's got this thing called an analytics connector, and it was designed specifically for machine learning. Back when we didn't have auto ML, it said, take this data, send it out, let it do the processing, bring the answer back, and just display the answer. Don't care what it is, just display the answer as text, which means you can send it to an LLM. That's how you do that. Build your own LLM, do what you like with it. We'll send you the question and we'll show the user the answer. Okay.
Sorry, I'm hogging all the questions. I'm just really thinking about the production use case for this.
Yeah.
And often clients are asking for provenance to show how it came to find, or in this case, maybe it came to decision. So we know we can't find provenance from the LLM. Let's say we want to know the vector data. Why did it pick?
Did you see the bit where I showed you the source? I'm going to have a chat afterwards and I'll take you through that, because I showed that where it gives you the answer, you can then go and say, show me the source document you got this answer
Yes,
from.
okay.
I can do that.
All right, awesome. I think that's the time we have for questions. Peter, thank you so much. Very, very appreciative of your time and coming in person as well. So I'm sure many of us are going to come hug your time after this. You might not get much pizza, but thank you. Thank you for attending and for making the time to put together such an epic demo. So thank you very much. And for those of you online and in person, thank you so much for attending the first event for the year. We do have them every month. It's usually the last Thursday of every month. Next month will be online. We do alternating, so it's hybrid, then online, hybrid, then online. All of the hybrids will be taking place here at Intellect offices, online from the comfort of your home. But yeah, for those who are here, I will pop feedback links in the chat, so you can go and provide some feedback for us. We really do appreciate it. But thank you, everyone online. You're welcome to drop, and everyone in person, there's pizza waiting. So please stay and stick around, chat if you want to, catch up, mingle. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.